Okay, this is another LotNET video. This video is going to focus on annotating lots and roadways after they're created, and also using lot types to dictate how particular lots are annotated. So there are previously recorded videos that show in more detail how to create roadways and lots, so I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I am going to create some lots and roadways. I'm just going to step through it a little quicker. So please see the previously recorded videos for more detailed instructions. So let me show you what I have here. So what I've done is I've created an LTN file, a lot network file called walnutcreek.ltn. Along with that is a road network file. That road network file is an RDN file, and it contains the centerline information and the right-of-way information. And from there, you can automate lot creation. I've got a starting lot name. I'm going to start with lot number 1. I'm using the option for a starting block. So what I'm going to do, besides just create lots and roadways out of here, is I'm going to segregate them into individual parcels that I'm going to call blocks. They could be considered phases or however you want to approach that, but I'm going to do that in a separate step. So I'm turning on the option to use blocks. So I always take the option to output a lot file. I find that the lot file is really quite handy for reporting and annotating and other things. So that's an LOT file. It's called Walnut Creek. And along with that, I have a coordinate file for points to be stored in. I'm not going to draw the points in the CAD file. I'm just going to store them in the coordinate file, and I can draw them at a later date if I want to. Lot line edge. Lot edge is the lot line layer, and building placement settings, if I go to edit, the only thing I'm really going to do is draw the setback lines with this. And right now, I'm not going to label lines and arcs on this. I'm just going to label areas to start with. I'm going to come back to that and show that in more detail. And pay attention to this, additional lot types. Again, I'm going to come back to that. But right now, the lots are all going to be created using the same exact settings, the default settings. That's it for the setup. I have a boundary, this which is the boundary of the property is just this closed polyline. I've got a center line that bisects the property, and then I'm creating 4 new center lines to use as frontage for the lots. So if I go into the road network, let me show you what I have here set up so far. So in here, now these are already saved as centerline files, .cl files. Again, take a look at the other videos and showing you more detailed information on how to create these, but essentially you just select these polylines and save them as centerline files. So I have a main roadway, a road A, road B, road C, and road D. The intersections are picked up automatically, providing that these polylines, these center lines, actually do intersect with each other. And then at the end of each one, I added a cul-de-sac. If I go to the little gear setting, I'm not going to create lots to start with, okay? Now, if I look at the file, these are all going to be exactly the same. They're all using a 40-foot right-of-way. So that is an external ROW file, and you just simply give it the dimensions from the center line. So it's 20-foot offset each side, so it's a symmetrical 40-foot roadway. So if I process this now, I get the right-of-way. So I'm going to turn off this thickened display right here. If I go to the display options, I'm going to turn that off. That's it. It's going to create the right-of-ways for me. And at this point, I'm going to stop here and do the rest of this development outside of the RDN file. So in this case, I'm only using the RDN file to create the roadways. So the next thing I'm going to do is define these areas of their block areas or phases, however you want to look at that, all I did was simply draw a polyline around each area that I'm going to limit the creation of the lots. So the lots will go to be created inside these areas. What I want left over out here is open space. So all I really have to do at this point is I'm using these ribbons here, but I'm going to use the command add lot edge. I'm just going to select all of these, just using a crossing, and it creates lots for each one of these parcels, including the open space. So what we end up with essentially is, here's lot 1, space, lot 2 is the open space, lot 3 is this, 4, 5, 6 is the open space, and then this strip down here is 7. So I know that's not the ultimate goal here, is to just have these lots, and these are going to be seen as open space and not buildable lots. So I'm going to change all of that, and I'm going to show you how we do that. But first, what I'm going to do is I want to create the geometry of all the lots before I worry about segmenting those into separate blocks and different types of parcels. So I'm just going to simply use this subdivide area command, and I pick a spot here, and I'm going to create lots of 20,000 feet, square feet, and 100 feet of frontage. I have a minimum lot depth of 50 to prevent small slivers being created, and then a lot depth of, I set that at 500 to make sure that the lots extend all the way from the road out to the back of these parcels. I don't want any gaps created in there. 500 is more than enough. And I'm just leaving this all as block A. So it prompts me to pick the starting frontage for the lots. I'm just going to start on the left side, and it creates those lots. They're not exactly what I want. They're 20,000 feet, but you can see like this thin lot created here. I'm going to adjust those as I go along. I'm not going to spend a lot of time cleaning those up. I think I would probably create smaller lots in here, depending on the bylaws, but what I'm just simply going to do is use CAD grips and move these to another location. The endpoints here and here. I'm just snapping nearest to something that looks kind of nice, and then I hit update, and it fixes those lots. You can see the setback lines are drawn here. I'm going to do the same thing here. Now, again, if you can spend as much time on these lots as you need, I'm just going to get some basic lots in there and let it go at that for this demonstration. Use the same command, subdivide area. Pick a spot here. Okay, I'm going to start with the lots there, and it winds around. Now I do have a funky lot in here that I don't like, so I am going to get rid of that. I'm just going to use remove lot edge, and I'm just going to get rid of those few. I'm going to move this lot over to the corner, update that, and then I'm going to redivide this lot here and start there and get lots that I like looking a little bit better. Same thing going on here. Maybe I don't need that. I can just, again, I'm just simply using grips. Now there are commands in here too to move a lot edge, add lot edges if you want to add more angle points. A lot of tools in there to create lots the way you want them to be. But I'll just update that, and there's my lot layout over here. A couple simple modifications just so I have something nicer. Update, and we're going to do the same thing over here. Create lots along this frontage, and that looks fine. One more time here. Okay, don't like that one, so I'm just going to remove lot edge here, I'm just going to simply draw a line. I'm going to set to this layer, draw a line from the midpoint of here to the midpoint of here. No, I don't want that. Let's say perpendicular to there. And then I add a lot edge. There we go. Again, subdivide here. Okay. See, it's how it's starting here. So it knows that the frontage started at this lot that I created here. I'm calling it a lot, but it's really this parcel. So it's not starting all over. It knows where to break the right of way for the lot creation. So even though if you select this, this is one continuous polyline, see how it knew where to start that subdivision. So a couple more minor edits here, and then I'll move on. Not really important for this demonstration. Again, this is more about annotating things, but a few of those little things just kind of annoy me. Okay, there's my lots. Now I'm going to go about the business of adding these to separate blocks and creating an open space parcels. Okay, to renumber these lots, get them in the order that I want them to be in, and put them in separate blocks, I'm going to use this renumber tool. Now, before I do that, though, I'm going to jump into the lot manager and just take a look at what we have already. And you can see we have lots created out here. I can click in them. That's the open space parcel is 2, and then we've got 3, 4. They're kind of all over the place. But the thing to notice is that they are all in block A currently. So there's 111 lots all in block A. So we're going to change that. So because, I'm just going back and refresh your memory that I had the option to use block names, and they're on block A because I never changed that. So when I use the renumber tool, because that option is on, I now am prompted with the name block name, or the prompt block name. So I'm going to say this is block A, lot number 1, and I simply draw in a clockwise fashion. So all the lots end up getting renumbered, but this is now block A, 16 lots in block A. I'm going to do the same thing for block B. Renumber the lots. This is going to be block B. Starting lot name is 1. So again, I'm going to go in. You don't have to go in a clockwise direction. That's just the direction I'm going in. But you can see it's like selecting by a fence. Same thing here, and this is going to be called block C. And I'm going to, starting them is 1. And I'm just going to go through here, renumber those. And you can see what I'm getting here. Lots 1 through 19 in block C. I'm going to make this also part of block C, this little piece here. Same command. Block name is C. Starting lot name this time is 20 because I left off at 19. And I'll just go in that direction. So 20 through 23 are there. One more time. Block name D. Lot number 1. And I just simply draw that theoretical line like a fence crossing and hit enter, and they're all renumbered. If I go into Lot Manager now, you'll see I can sort by block. There's block A, 1, 2, I don't turn off that zoom current that's annoying me, 4, 5, 6. I can go down to Lot B. There's Lot B, Lot 1 through 38, lot C, 1 through 23, and lot D, 1 through 32. And those open space lots are still up here in these block A, so we're going to change that next. Okay, the next step in this operation is to create a new lot type for these open space parcels. Right now they're just labeled a lot and they have the next available number. They're in block A. I'm going to change that. If you look at Lot Manager, you see that the lot types are all set to default. That's fine for all these lots in here. But what I'm going to do is create a new lot type. Now I do that here back in Lot Network Settings, the LTN file. Down at the bottom it has additional lot types. I'm going to hit Add. I'm going to create a lot type name called Open Space. The lot line layer, that's fine. Leave that the same, that doesn't matter. But the building placement settings, I'm going to edit that and turn off the setback lines. Make a note here too that you can save these settings, the building placement settings as well. I still have label lines and arcs off for now. I'll come back to that, but I am going to change the label areas. So right now it's starting with a settings file called Standard Area Annotations, which I created earlier. And I'm going to start with that and hit Edit. And the first thing I'm going to do is basically a save as. This says save, but it really functions as a save as. And I hit Save, and I'm going to create a new file called Open Space. And it creates an ARS file. So it's starting with those settings. I'm just going to cancel that for a second and select that so I'm editing the correct one. So that's kind of an important step that I don't want to edit. If I make edits to this, it saves it in that file. I don't want that to affect the way that these areas, the lot areas, are being labeled. I want them different. So it's important to make sure you select the right file. It's really a more efficient way to use your area defaults and create all these things ahead of time, and then all you have to do is hit select and load them. But I didn't do that, so I'm kind of creating this on the fly. So I'll hit edit, and what I'm going to do is change the lot description from lot to just OS, caps OS. And I'm only going to show the area in terms of acres and not square feet. So I'll hit OK and OK. So I now have a new lot type. So, and again, I hit OK. So that saves that in the LotNet configuration file. So now I use a little tool under Area Layout, Lot Network Tools, Assign Lot Type. So it's under the Utilities, Assign Lot Type. And you see I'm now presented with a drop-down box, and there's my new lot type, open space. Now I can do this by a crossing selection. I'm going to leave it like that and hit OK. And I just reassigned that lot as an open space. If you look at that, it says open space 17. That's fine. I'm going to do the same thing here. Area layout, utilities, assign lot type. Again, open space. Okay. See how much quicker it went that time. So now I want to renumber these. So I'm going to go back to this renumber lots. I hit that. And the block name, I'm going to actually create a block called open space, starting as 1. Now I have to do these one at a time, you can't cross over the road because I'm going to get into other lots and change the designations of those. So you got to be careful about your selection. But now it's OS1, which is exactly what I want. And I'm going to do it again. Block name, open space. Lot name is 2. So I go back into my lot manager. I should now, if I sort by blocks, you should see down on the bottom there's 2 open space lots. And I can highlight those. You can see that they are in fact capturing all those areas that I had defined. So I'm going to save that setting. And I actually have everything set up the way I want it at this point, and I'm ready to annotate the subdivision. The reason why I wait to annotate it is because of all those little modifications I like to make prior to putting in bearings and distances. It just speeds things up. The next step is to annotate the plan. To do that, I return to the LotNET work settings. So what I do is just simply turn on label lines and arcs. Now I have files set up already, and I created an auto annotation file called standard auto annotate and a standard annotations file, ADF file, which are the 2 standard files that you need. There are other videos that go into deeper explanation of using auto annotation, so I encourage you to watch those. But I am going to make some edits to this, and that is under the auto annotation portion of this. I am going to take a look at line tables and curve tables. So right now I have those set to never. Now I can tell by looking at this, some of these curve pieces there's going to be too much information to label on those at this scale. This is a 1 inch equals 60 scale drawing, so they're just not going to fit. And I know I'm going to end up creating those as line and curve tables anyways. So what I'm going to do is, instead of putting us on never, you could put always, but I'm going to use by scalar. So that means on shorter lines, it's going to, instead of attempting to label it here, it's going to add just a line table to it, a line table number. Same with the arcs. I'm going to change this, use curve table to by scalar. So some of these longer curves, if it'll fit, I'll go ahead and do it. The shorter curves, it will put those into a curve table. But before I stop here, I'm going to look at the line curve table defaults. So I want to see what it's going to be doing as far as the table itself that it's creating. And if I click on that, I've got a couple options here. The label text layers, so that would be like the curve or line number label, and then the table text layer. So that's what layer is going to create the table on. So there are the text style and the scalar, the text size, and then a prefix. So I'm going to use L. This is the default, by the way, is L and C for a prefix. A line table title, I just typed in line table and curve table. And then you can go get more granular with these options in setting up the table. I'm just going to accept the defaults because those can be edited later, and I think is usually the way I like to do that. I do want to take a look at the curve options. I'm going to label the radius first and the arc length second. So that's the order I want those in. So you can do that any way you want. And I hit OK. Again, always notice the load and save. So I could have set this up and just selected this file. And that's it for changes. I'm going to make that. I'm going to go ahead and annotate the open space areas as well. So I'm going to go in here and hit edit and turn it on here as well. If I edit that, since it's using the same file, those changes I made are already set. So I don't have to do that again. So it's using the exact same file. So if you have specific ways you want to annotate this. If you have different files you're using, you'll select the one that you want to use at this point. And I hit OK. So now I just go into Area LotWork Labels, and I'm going to hit Redraw All Network Labels. And so it pauses and prompts me to pick a curve table position. So I'm just going to pick a curve table position off to the side over here. And then it asks for a line table position. I'm just going to pick it kind of off to the right of that. So we now have a complete line and curve table. And in the plan view, the shorter segments are labeled with a line number or curve number. So kind of the final step of this is to create layouts of each one of these sections that are going to fit on a 24 by 36 sheet. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about creating layouts in this video. I'll make another one for that. But what I want to show you is a command that is useful when it comes out to creating layout tabs, and that is to be able to place just the curve, line and curve numbers for each block is what I'm going to do in this. So I don't have the entire line table on just one page where you have to flip back and forth, or on every page where you have to decipher and go through a lot of line curve and curve tables numbers. Now in this case, these are actually quite small, so it's really not that big of a deal if they were on the same page. But in a lot of subdivisions that are much larger than this, the line and curve table could be very, very lengthy, and that's really not what I want to have on the plan. So first I'm going to demonstrate how the command works. And what I'm going to do is focus on block A here. And I'm going to go to Annotate, Line and Curve Table, and there's a command called Copy Table Subset. And what that does essentially is copy one of these two tables, but then pauses to allow you to select only the labels you want to include in that copy set. So to demonstrate, I'm going to say Copy Table Subset, and I pick that. And Position for Table to Copy, I pick over here. And then I can select labels to limit the table to. Now, there is Polyline or Select or All. That would grab everything, of course. Pay attention to this polyline. I'm going to come back and show you how I like to use that option. But for this demonstration, first I'm going to pick Select, and I'm just going to window in a bunch of those and hit Enter, and there's a new curve table with only the curves that I had just selected. Now, I'm going to erase that for now, but that's how the command works. In some cases, you might want to select a more odd-shaped figure that matches the layout sheet. So what I'm going to do is show you a little trick that I use, and that is to just go into my layout. So here in Paperspace, you can see I have just kind of a title block in here, and I have a viewport, and the viewport is a new viewport, and it's zoomed to extent, so you can see the line and curve tables there. And what I usually really do is just kind of stretch this out to where I know about the area that it's going to fit. I click in here, and I usually just kind of approximate a zoom center of what I'm going to look at. Again, I just want to create a layout with just this portion. So I get close, and then I click on that, and then I change the standard scale to what it really is, 1 inch equals 60. So that gives me the actual viewport scale that I'm going to be working with. And immediately I lock the viewport so I can't accidentally zoom in there and goof up my scale. Happens very easily. So now I'm going to, this isn't too bad. I could just adjust this rectangle, but really what I want to do In a lot of cases, and I'm going to do here, is create an odd shape viewport that just shows exactly what I want to see. So I am just simply going to draw a polyline. And I'm going to start here, show a little bit of here, up, kind of over, up and around. And I'm going to just kind of zoom in and say, I want to see this and that much of the lots. And I'll go ahead and show those dimensions down below. And there, that is what I want to see on this sheet. So to do that, I'm going to take this viewport and clip it to match that polyline that I just drew. The command for that is VP clip. And it prompts me to select the viewport to clip, which that's the viewport to clip, and then select clipping entity or polygon. So if I pick polygon, I would have to draw that again. So I've already drawn the polyline, so I just simply pick that one, and there's my viewport. Now I have a polyline and a viewport. You can see my selection. So I can select that polyline, which I've done here, right? So I limited my selection to the polyline, and I'm going to copy that in place. So the reason why I did that is because I now have two polylines. If I select this, you'll see I have a viewport and two polylines. What I'm going to do is use a command called change space that will take an entity that's drawn in paper space and copy it into model space in exactly the same position as you see here and scale it accordingly, because I'm in paper space here, so everything's based upon a 24 by 36 inch sheet. It is not scaled to actual coordinates. So that this is a clever little command. It's called change space, or CH space. Select entity. I'm going to hit last. So I've got one entity and I hit enter. Select the target viewport active, which I only have one. So I can just hit enter and continue. Now if I jump into model space, you'll see I now have that viewport, or that polyline, in model space at the exact same position as it was in paper space. So now I'm going to create a line and curve table that only includes what's inside that polyline. So I go back and I use this exact same command, line and curve table, copy table subset, and you do these individual. This is the curve. Put the curve here, and I'm going to, instead of selecting a window, I'm going to pick polyline. I select that and hit enter. There's my table. I'm going to repeat that command for the line work. Position that right below it. Use the same polyline. And there's my line table. So I've got lines and curves just for this selection set. So now I can jump back into my layout tab, and what I'm just going to do is simply create another viewport using mview is the command, and I'll just pick that. It again just zooms extents when you create it. I'm going to zoom up to one of those tables, pick that viewport, give it the correct scale, and then I can move that around wherever I might want.